This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Daws.
Hello, welcome to Partners in Crime. And we have for the last couple of episodes been somehow piping this down the line to Bob in Latvia and back, which has been fun and challenging to say the least. But Bob's filming is now over. He's back from Latvia, but we're in Tier 2 lockdown here. So rather than saying hello Riga, hello 500 yards up the road.
That's exactly what it is, and I might as well be in the Baltics because the
weather's not dissimilar.
Here. It's not dissimilar. It's not dissimilar. We are in the bleak, well, not exactly midwinter yet, are we? But we're in the beginnings of bleak winter. But there are berries on the trees, and the holly bush in the front of my house is ablaze with holly and berries. So it's just lovely to be home. I had a wonderful time and made some great friends over there. But nearly 2 months. It's. I said to Amy, "This has got to stop." So,
I've got to pack this work thing in.
Yes, if I'm going to be a movie star, I'm going to have to do it within the local environs of the UK. So,
well, if Liz Hurley could film her next blockbuster in Ampthill, it would be lovely.
Well, they used to film. We've said this before, but they used to film the Hammer House of Horrors up here. I've
been in the local pubs. I can see why.
Now that's an American werewolf in Ampthill, and so it has been used as, and I can see why. I mean, it's got all the locations. I think they did Witchfinder General in Ampthill and Clop Hill and filmed that. So that the area can boast that it has some sort of movie history. But anyway, it's lovely to be back amongst family and friends. And although it's just a few hundred yards up the road from you, it's nice to be back. I feel as if I'm that much closer to my partner in crime, Mr. Croft, who's, I'm sure, got bags and bags of useful information for anyone idling a half an hour away and listening to us bantering on.
Well, you know damn well I've got very little for today's episode, but we will banter on anyway.
You did mention that, but I thought I'd stick you in it nonetheless.
We'll banter on anyway. Have you got someone else? We can't do the episodes together at the moment because of the Tier 2, no indoor mixing and what have you. If you can work from home, do, and let's face it, we can. But do you have to isolate anyway for having come back into the country?
No, everything's dandy. I mean, it's... that's a bit of luck. So I mean, I'm fine, and I did tell you the truth. I've had that many. I've had about 6 COVID tests. I mean, 1 a week since I've been away, and every day you turn up to work, and there was a nurse taking your temperature when you arrived, and a nurse taking your temperature when you left. So I mean, I've been so closely monitored, and I've had it anyway. Whether that means anything, we still don't know. But I should imagine there are antibodies. Ever decreasing antibodies in my system because I did have it in March, but so no, I'm fine and footloose and vaguely fancy free and that's that wonderful feeling when you get back. It's lovely being away, but when you get back home, if you're fortunate enough to have a lovely home and family and friends, you realise that it's the most important thing in the world, and I'm always very grateful for that. And so let's talk about murder and mayhem, shall we? Just to add sort of a contrast to all this gushing loveliness.
Well, I mean, I've had mayhem of my own in the last couple of weeks because I've been trying to get these out the door for anybody who is watching on video, any of our patrons who are able to watch episodes, and the link is in the show notes if you want to get a piece of that. But I've been trying to get these out the door. It's the special hardback limited edition of Her Last Tomorrow. It's 5 years, actually, tomorrow, I believe, since I released this book initially. It kind of took the world briefly by storm and did very, very well. So to celebrate 5 years since that came out, we've commissioned limited edition hardback. It's only 500 copies, actually. It's all beautifully embossed and gold foiled and comes with a gold page marker, and it's got I'll open it up. I've got a personalised signed letter from me. They're all individually numbered. There we go. This is book number 1 of 500, which I'm keeping myself very safely, all hand signed. Comes also with a gold embossed black luxury bookmark and all of that gubbins. So we've been, and each one of those as well, we've actually been hand wrapping and sealing with a gold wax monogram. So how about that?
You're just a camp old body.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Oh, darling, where's the wax? He puts on his Tudor costume and his crown and sits there with the royal seal of approval in wax. So I have to say, it is a beautiful looking book.
It is a luxury edition, that's for sure.
And this isn't blowing smoke where you don't want smoke being blown, but you don't do things in halves, Mr. Croft. I've noticed that.
No.
And for those who can't see it, it's worth, really, I will say this, it really is worth having because it's a beautiful looking book. Actually, how does it sound? I know what it looks, and you've described it very well, but has it got any particular interesting notes in the octave?
I'm very careful because this is number 1 and it is the only one. So
okay, but be gentle with it. Oh, you see, that is incredible. That has depth. That has resonance. If it was a wine, you'd be going, Oh, full of mellowness and future. Yeah,
it's a hardback. You can do this.
You see, you can't. You're quite right. You can't do that with your average paperback. Try as you might, it's not going to happen.
I'll try it. Here's one.
Okay, there we go. No, not the same at all.
It's papery, isn't it?
No, I don't mean to knock paperbacks, do we? But I mean, in actual fact, nothing. A hardback has heft. And you heard it here first, and I like a hardback, I have to say. So, and that is a particularly beautiful one. And Adam has very kindly offered me a free copy.
Yes, yours is actually up there on the shelf. You might be able to see wrapped up. You have got number 2 because
I've got number 2.
Yes, you are, of course, in every way. And my number 2.
Number two. Well, that's lovely. I'm absolutely delighted. So anyway, apart from anything else, if anyone's listening and hasn't got it, or has actually got it, read it, and loved the book, and wants to have a little bit of heft on their library shelves, then that's the one to order now.
Yes,
so
if you do want my hefty hard one, then head over to my website. That's the only place you can get them, in fact.
Silence echoes through the realm. Well, do you know what I've decided to do today? Because with very little preparation, actually having just arrived here and settling in, I had the idea that over the next few weeks up to Christmas, I'm going to pick up books through the year that I've recommended for people to get, to have a book on the go. And the first one actually isn't a book of fiction, and we've talked about it before, but it's a great book to read, I think, if you are an Agatha Christie fan. Now, I know lots of people are. I'll tell you the truth, I was thinking the other day, when I was growing up, Agatha Christie was considered a bit, old-fashioned, and occasionally a play would turn up at the local theatre, pack out nonetheless. But it didn't have any sort of real cachet. How things have changed over the last 30 years. I mean, in particular through the films that have been made, starting back with the Poirots with Peter Ustinov, and into the sort of Murder on the Orient Express, and now Ken Branagh picking up the moustache, and what a hefty moustache that is, and countless other ones, and the BBC and other production companies reimagining her works and doing an extraordinarily fine job. But someone
and Bollywood, of course, we mentioned, didn't we?
Yes, and Bollywood now. We're going to have Poirot in India, which is going to be Poirot in Delhi and Bombay, Mumbai. Well, it will be Bombay, as it was called, and Calcutta and what have you. But one person who knows more about Agatha Christie, and certainly about her work in theatre, which is a fascinating area and one that isn't chronicled. And I have mentioned and reviewed this book before, but it's Julius Green's Agatha Christie, A Life in Theatre. You can see it here, and it sounds like this. It goes on forever, but in exactly the way that you want a book to go on forever. And it's a great dipping book because it really, although it specialises to a great degree on her theatre works, you learn so much about the great lady, the way she worked, the way she thought, and the transition of her works from novels into live 3D performances is an incredible journey. And it's not just because I'm an actor and I've worked in theatre for 40 years, so I've got a natural affinity to it. It's because it's an incredibly well written, well researched, and fascinating book, with full of anecdotes and insights into her work. So this is Christmas, and it's a time of year which I always associate with a murder mystery and Agatha Christie to some degree. So if you're looking for a gift, or you fancy having that book on the side when you're not into your latest Adam Croft or Lee Child or Ellie Griffith's book, then dip into this. I'll mention it again. The Independent say this book is a treat, and the Independent is absolutely right. Agatha Christie, A Life in Theatre, the extraordinary, untold story of the most successful female playwright of all time. Who knew? Well, Julius Green did, and that's his book, and it is published here. Where is it? HarperCollins publishers, but of course you will be able to get it on a certain with a certain company. Oh, it's got pictures. I've forgotten about the pictures. I like a book with pictures.
Yes, you need pictures, don't you?
Haven't really. I don't have to join the doctor. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the one to get for a gift or for your own indulgence, and get it on. Where will people get it from?
Well, I would suggest getting it from Kobo, because as a Partners in Crime listener, if you've never bought from Kobo before, go over to kobo.com, Kobo.com, and you can get any ebook of your choice with 90% off by entering the promo code CRIME at the checkout. And if you follow through the link in the show notes, don't look at me like that, I know what I said. If you follow through the link in the show notes, you can enter the promo code PARTNERS for 40% off thereafter. And moving on before you pick me up on that one.
I'm staying stum.
I've literally just been reading, and I mean literally up until the point we started recording, a brand new book that should be out. Actually, it'll be out in a day or two's time. Actually, by the Hardback team, Hardback publishers, a new publisher that Bob is recently signed to. They've got a Christmas anthology out called Never Mind the Baubles, Here's the Hardback Team, an anthology of twisted winter tales. And the reason for that is there's a foreword by me at the very front. They've very kindly asked me to write the foreword with about 36 hours notice, which is always appreciated, better than 35.
It's the only way you get things done. That Hardback team are crack at this. They crack the whip and they get things done.
I like that. I genuinely prefer that to somebody saying to me, you've got 9 months to write it, and then after you sent it to us, we'll put it out a year and a half later. I think, what's the blimmin' point of that? So no, I like this. Forward written on Thursday lunchtime, and book out by Friday evening. How about that? That's a new way of doing publishing. They've got short stories from all of their a lot of their writers. I haven't kept up with what their current stable is. We've got Karina Swan, Ardy Nixon, A.B. Morgan, Linda Huber, Malcolm Hollingdrake, who's recently announced he signs to them. That's brilliant. He's a fantastic writer. Lewis Hastings, Anthony Dunford. Adrian and Rebecca, the owners of Hardback themselves, have written short stories, which are actually really, really good. They're very talented writers in themselves, it seems.
Yes, they are.
And some bloke called Robert Daws has written something about Latvia, I noticed, as well.
They took pity on the old boy, and they said, look, we're asking everyone else, and it's Christmas, and in the spirit of Christmas, here's a crumb of comfort. Can you write a story? So, yes, I'm in there as well.
But do go and get that. It might not be out for a day or two after the podcast. I'm not sure yet. But Never Mind the Baubles. Here's the Hardback team, hastily but very, very professionally put together just in time for Christmas. So do go and grab that from Kobo as well. Right, I've been looking at some interesting stuff in the news. There's an article I saw in the Scotsman about an emerging crime writer called Stuart Johnston, who's had a bit of an interesting way of getting there. In fact, it's quite difficult to kind of make sense of the article the way it's written. But and I'll indicate this by way of the headline, which reads in its entirety: From policeman to dog shop owner and UNESCO-championed emerging writer, Stuart Johnston's journey to becoming a published author has been anything but orthodox. He can even claim Stephen King as a fan. Indeed, it was the American horror writer who first published his work, but more of that later. So yeah, he's the owner of a pet shop in Stockbridge, which I think is...
I love Stockbridge. It's in Edinburgh,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it's a beautiful part of Edinburgh. Lovely, near the botanical gardens, and beautiful. Yeah, I spent many happy hours there.
He'd been working in the police for many years, and he wanted to do a degree in literature and creative writing, which he did, and he's now done his master's as well. And Stephen King somehow picked up a short story that he had submitted to the Edinburgh Book Festival, and really liked it. UNESCO picked him as one of the emerging writers in 2015. And they invited Stephen King's UK publishers invited stories based on a quotation from his new book, and he felt that he had one that matched. He emailed it in, and I think it was picked as one of 6 stories by Stephen King, who then basically curated those 6 short stories, put them into an anthology, and very much backed Stuart Johnston's career, which is now taken off with his first book, which has been picked up and is coming out. He says, "I never set out to write crime fiction. I've never actually read a lot of crime novels. It was too much like a busman's holiday." Of course, he was a former policeman. "Actually, with the Stephen King connection," he says, "I thought I might be writing something that was closer to horror, but by the time I'd finished, it looked like a crime novel. By the time it passed by my agents and publisher, it certainly looked a lot like a crime novel. So it's a crime novel, but with a supernatural element." So yeah, it's a hell of an article, hell of a story. It's all over the place, but I kind of like that, actually. So very much looking forward to Stuart Johnston's debut book. Let's see if I can find the name of it now. In fact, it's out now. Yeah, it's called Out in the Cold.
Out in the Cold.
Yeah, Stuart Johnston with an E on the end.
Well, I mean, that sounds great. The combination, I mean, it's something I absolutely love, and is the combination of a thriller, crime thriller, a murder mystery, and a little bit of the old supernatural as part.
Oh. Bob's video appears to have disappeared, and his sound appears to have disappeared, so I will pick up the slack in the meantime while we wait for him to come back. Something else I saw in the news this week was that the black Jewish novelist Walter Mosley has been honoured with a National Book Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Award. It's one of the National Book Foundation's highest honours, in fact. He received that a couple of weeks back. The Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters. Since 1988, the Lifetime Achievement Award has gone to Joan Didion, Ursula Le Guin and Toni Morrison, amongst others. But Walter Mosley is the first black man to win the medal in its history. But he's not the first Jewish man, because writers such as Saul Bellow, Philip Roth and Arthur Miller have won it in past years. Mosley is perhaps best known, it says here, for his Easy Rawlins mystery series, which centre on Easy, a black private detective in Los Angeles in the 1960s. And the first of the series, Devil in a Blue Dress, was adapted into a 1995 movie starring Denzel Washington. Walter Mosley's actually not just written crime, not just written mysteries, but he has spanned out genres with more than 60 books from, and get this, not only plays, but Afro-futurist science fiction. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it does sound brilliant. He won a Grammy Award in 2001. And in fact, he only started writing at the age of 34, which is quite striking. So that's how old I am now, and I've written about half as many books as he did in the rest of his life. So I'm afraid it sounds like you're going to have a lot more books to come from me yet. One of his mentors was the Irish novelist Edna O'Brien, who encouraged him to write his first novel by saying, "You're black and Jewish with a poor upbringing. There are riches therein," which appears to have been quite fortuitous, actually, because he's now the first black Jewish novelist to win National Book Foundation's highest honour, or one of their highest honours anyway. So fantastic news there. He says he once told the St. Louis Jewish Book Festival, I grew up with half sour, kosher pickles and collard greens, and I enjoyed both sides of my family. So, wonderful news there for Walter Mosley. Congratulations to him. We don't seem to be getting Bob back just yet. We're sitting here waiting for him. I think everything must have gone down at his end, but I will carry on. In the meantime, I'll try and hold the fort on my own. I mean, let's face it, I did a live episode of Partners in Crime on my lonesome in April. That was, I think, the 100th episode. We decided we were going to do a live one. We had all sorts of plans for it. And then Bob came down with COVID-19. And here he is again. He's back. We were just talking about you, Bob.
I'm not surprised. How embarrassing!
That's all right. I held the fort. I did a long segment on Walter Mosley becoming the first black Jewish novelist to win a National Book Foundation award. We talked about him and his life, and I said we were just waiting for you to come back, but it's not a problem. I can hold the fort. I did an entire live episode in April, which had to be hastily changed at the last minute when you came down with the COVIDs.
Well, thank you very much.
We're still here.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's just as well it did come back. We'd have our own mystery, wouldn't we? I could have just gone, and that was it. Where happened to Bob?
Yes, and we have Adrian Hobart every week from now on, and you're never spoken about again.
Yeah, well, stranger things have happened in life. But there we are. Well, I'll tell you exactly what did happen. I wasn't connected to the mains, and my battery went on my laptop. And this is sometimes the struggle you have as a real professional broadcaster, juggling so many different things that sometimes you just forget to plug the wretched thing in. But anyway, I'm back.
Your turn. I've done my bit.
For what it's worth, right, I'm on the spot. There was something here. I'm just talking about the Agatha Christie thing. I noticed, and this is killing times again, Channel 5 have got a winter offering. I don't know whether it's been out yet or not. I haven't seen it, but I want to track it down. I don't spend much time watching Channel 5, but there's no question that they've sort of upped their game, certainly in their crime dramas and stuff. But they have got a piece coming out called Agatha and the Death of X. Once again, Helen Baxendale once again plays the famous crime writer in another fictional mystery, with Agatha at the heart of it all. Set during the Blitz in 1940s London, after writing 12 Poirot novels in 6 years, Agatha Christie should be a rich woman. Instead, she's struggling to make ends meet. As the money runs out, Agatha concocts a plan to kill off her most famous creation, Poirot, and sell the manuscript to a superfan. When Agatha's would-be buyer suffers a heart attack, it seems unfortunate but benign. When her manuscript is stolen, a wider conspiracy begins to take shape. As the bombs fall and she investigates the danger of her situation, her life and perilous existence becomes apparent. Agatha herself is the killer's next target. So there we are. A spin on the life of Agatha Christie, absolutely pure fiction, of course, but Helen Baxendale playing the great lady. And you know what? That sounds like great Christmas fare, as far as I'm concerned. So Agatha and the Death of X, it says here, incoming winter. So look out for it. I'm going to certainly look out for it. And if I find anything out, I'll let you all know. So that's me with the Agatha Christie links, the book, and the upcoming television series. Right.
Well, we do have a bit more vintage mystery for you, because Alicia Vikander, the Ex Machina actress, will reportedly star in and executive produce an adaptation for MGM UA television based on Dial M for Murder, the 1952 stage play, which was turned into a 1954 Alfred Hitchcock film.
Great film.
Both written by British playwright Frederick Knott. Boardwalk Empire creator Terence Winter and vinyl writer Michael Mitnick are also involved in developing the show, which will be an anthology series that will reset each season, according to Vulture.com. Their reimagining of Dial M will reportedly tell the crime thriller from the female perspective, ostensibly from that of Margot, played in the film by Grace Kelly, whose husband Tony, portrayed in the movie by Ray
Milland, yes,
makes her the target of a complex murder plot once he discovers her infidelity. So that's coming up soon. A very a nice twist on the tale rather than having the two chaps as the forefront of that. It would be told very much from Margot's point of view. So looking forward to seeing the MGM UA television adaptation of Dial M for Murder.
Well,
you see, classic.
There's so many. Agatha Christie is being sort of reinterpreted and reworked. I was talking to an actress called Tara Fitzgerald was filming with us last week, being magnificent, and of course she appeared in the West End in an Agatha Christie. I think it was, and then there was None, which was reworked to the point where she actually played a role which was a male role in the books and in previous adaptations of it, or presentations of it, and that was adapted by the excellent writer, sadly no longer with us, Kevin Elliott. It's a sign of a fine, great writer that you can actually sort of shift things around and show things from a different perspective. But there's no question with Christie, as we've witted on about all through the year, that this is she's a hardy perennial, and she's been discovered by new generations, younger generations, all the time, who take them to heart. And luckily, people who make film and television programs and indeed radio have cottoned on to this and are at the forefront of bringing her works to new generations. But lest we forget, the original books are still there and are brilliant reads and make excellent stocking presents, I think.
I was going to ask you, actually, a very important question. What's that on the shelf behind you? It looks like a skull with a ponytail.
Oh, that's just a mug of an old man. It's a Toby jug.
We won't talk too much about mugs and old men on this program. But yeah, anyone on Patreon might be able to see behind you. There's a skull with a ponytail, which is very interesting.
There's a spooky Toby jug, and it's not me.
And also, sorry, while we're talking of Patreon, one of our patrons was in touch this week with a very lovely note, which I wanted to read out on the show, from Emma House, who says, "Hi Adam and Bob, just wanted to say a big thank you for all your hard work with the podcast, especially with everything this year making it extra difficult to produce. A silver lining of the pandemic was it made me take up a new hobby. My boyfriend started making mosaics when his pub closed back in March, and in true only child fashion, I got envious of his hobby having and tried out pyrography. Partners in Crime has become the soundtrack to my wood burning each week, often followed by the audiobook of something you've recommended or written. It's been the ideal way to unwind, so really thank you." She sent a COVID-friendly picture of a card she made for us, which I'll show you here. She says, "Thanks a mil and wishing you both a Merry Christmas." And here we are. We'll show the picture here for our patrons.
Oh, is that lovely?
So she's for those who don't have video access, who aren't patrons, it's a sort of a wooden plaque with a sort of an etched, burnt thank you and a lovely script. "Thank you, Adam and Bob," with a picture of a Sherlock Holmes style detective that she's put on there, following some footsteps. So
isn't that lovely?
Thank you so much, Emma. That's really kind of you.
Thank you. That's absolutely great. How clever!
I'm really pleased that Partners in Crime has kept you happy and kept you going while you've been burning stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought I'd hear that.
We do often make people burn things when they listen to us. Mostly their speakers or their computers.
So, I mean, yes. So, obviously, we're back now, and leading up to Christmas, I, for one, will be far more prepared, and we'll have lots of goodies coming up on the show. Lots more anecdotes and lots more insights into the world of crime fiction on all mediums, and recommendations. And as I said, I'm looking back over the last year and picking out a few of our favourite recommendations and reviewers to just say, have another look at this if you haven't already got it. So it's been nice to be back in the studio with me old mucker.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking we might only have to do one more distanced one if we do end up being put down into tier 1 afterwards, which would be very, very handy because it would be just in time, just the day before we'd planned to do our Christmas special. So it would be very handy if the Prime Minister could pop us down into tier 1 for that. Yeah, we could do our Christmas episode together, which would be a nice way to end the year, wouldn't it?
Yes, I've thought you should be put down many of the times enough, and so we'll see. It will be nice. It would be nice to be back in the studio, because as I've said before, you're such an excellent producer, and everything just goes tickety boo, and you don't have a bloke with his batteries running out.
Well, it's more having to do things through the internet and time delays. And
we did rush
like
about.
That,
Amy was rushing about trying to find the mains chords for me, and I knew you'd be going on. I thought we've got to get back online before he's actually just forced to do nothing else but sing "I Did It My Way."
That was next on my list.
Which
yes.
I know,
Yeah.
and listeners, you owe me big time for getting back on time. Although your dulcet tones are. I don't know. I was going to give you a compliment then, but I don't know.
Not massively dulcet.
I don't know whether I can. Anyway, so there we go.
Well, we'll work out our Christmas schedules as well, because it turns out that both Christmas Day and New Year's Day are on Fridays this week, and we have to work out when we can record, if we can record, what's going on, and Moriarty's availabilities and things like that. But,
Moriarty again, Moriarty. Thank you. I've been your articles on social media are absolutely fantastic, intriguing, enlightening, informative, and occasionally quite funny. So thank you, Moriarty.
We'll definitely be here next week. We'll definitely be doing our Christmas special the week after, which will be hopefully one that we'll be able to do for the first time together, and end this pretty vile year in a bit of Christmas style.
That will be very pleasant, won't it?
We've got some special stuff being prepared for that as well. Moriarty is working on behind the scenes. I know last year we had our
what's he doing? Knitting us Christmas jumpers.
It's something like that.
We can do our version of a Perry Como Christmas special.
We had the podcast before Christmas last year, didn't we? Do you remember?
We did, yeah.
The little ditty that was recorded. So we'll sort something out for this year. We've got stuff going on behind the scenes for this year's Christmas special too. Good. Okay, and maybe you'll get round to singing My Way then. Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. Okay. But there we are. Right, you done? Yeah, actually, I need to take that thought of you singing a song away with me, and probably have an ibuprofen or something. I thought you say probably have 10 minutes in the toilet alone. Yeah, no, definitely not. Not with you singing, and even if it was a nice Christmas ballad. Have yourself I'm going to have myself a very merry ibuprofen. Right, we'd better crack on with Partners in Crime, Arsenic and Old Lace, which is our after-show for Patreon subscribers. Yes. But in the meantime, for the rest of you, we'll see you back here for another socially distanced episode next week. Have a good week, all. Bye.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Daws and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.